code. You know, it records the fact that your mouse moved over to the right.
Can I rock the fucking hoodie and these headphones?
It's a possibility, man.
Maybe.
It's a possibility. You know?
I don't know if I look ridiculous.
Can you hear
not.
me? This seems unplugged. Yeah? Check. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You're live,
for
man.
sure.
For sure.
You're live.
We're live.
We're not. We're not.
We're not live.
But your
I'm
mic
live.
is live.
The mic is hot.
That's what it is. The mic's hot.
Very hot.
Lukewarm, as of right now.
No longer hot.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Talk Junkies, where we are coming to you from the middle of the United States. Pretty much close to the very middle, if I'm not mistaken.
Pretty damn near dead center.
Yeah, it's weird that we'd be born here, how our lineage brought us to this current spot and moment where we are right now.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, man.
And KC's like the main distribution point for a ton of, I don't know, everything.
They say that Kansas City is the best city to start a business in for that very reason, due to its location.
Just centralized.
Very central location.
Remember when George Bush was in office and he had talked about starting like where it's the center point, and it's right over there off 150, which is like a mile away from your guys' house, and that's where they were gonna have like a super highway, legitimately just for trade from Mexico to Canada, and it's called the center point, and that's you see those massive, just like off 150, those massive store or distribution centers is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That's where it was supposed to be. I don't know what happened or why it didn't happen, but it was supposed to be right there.
It's a good way for the government to, you know, make some tax money on all that Colombian dope going through here straight up to Canada.
Yeah.
I remember there was a lot of fear behind that, because then you talked about a North American Union.
That's what I'm talking about, the North American Union, yeah.
Yeah, and then it was the combination to where it would be open borders between
What
Canada.
is that? I haven't heard of that.
You've never heard of the North
yeah.
American
No.
Union? They literally, so it's basically like what the European Union would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so Canada, Mexico, and the United States would now all be one big thing,
One
basically,
union.
and we'd have one currency, the Americana or whatever,
Yeah.
Americano.
Mm-hmm.
I think is what it was about.
I
to be
don't
called.
think that's a good idea at all. I'm sure there's upsides to it, and I'm not educated enough on the subject to really. I'm just giving a layman's.
The European,
opinion.
I mean, they did it over in Europe, but I mean that was a
That's
bunch
also-
of smaller countries,
You're talking about
though.
Yeah, you're talking about really small countries with smaller. I shouldn't say smaller populations, but I mean America is huge in comparison.
Massive.
Yes.
Like you have countries over there that are multiple countries, by the way, not just one or two. Multiple countries over there that are smaller than the size of Texas.
No, because I was against it just for the fact that I'm like, man, if you consolidate all these countries into one, it's easier for corruption to happen. Basically, was my main point of being against the North American Union.
It's already, we've talked about this, it's already pretty bad on a federal level. I wish that states, we've
Yeah.
talked about the fact that I think that states should be more divisive. Honestly, the only thing that combines us, I think, should be military and economy, like where we're all using the U.S. dollar. But other than that, like, states should make their own laws and stuff. Like, don't worry, murder's still going to be illegal everywhere, because any state that said, yeah, murder is completely legal, that's cool, nobody would live there.
Yep. And it just wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't
because
happen.
That's just a very natural human moral.
Yeah. Well, that's why every state should be able to make that. There shouldn't be federal level laws like the weed thing. You know, like weed shouldn't be illegal federally. It should be, if Louisiana wants to make weed legal and Michigan doesn't want weed to be legal, that's cool. Let it be up to people to decide where they live and whatnot.
And what we were talking about earlier, you're right. Elon Musk, when he was on the podcast with Joe Rogan, he's in California where weed is legal in that state. He took a hit of weed. Yes, it was on YouTube. Yes, he's the owner of this large, massive company that's sending people to space and cargo to space. But it's a legal state. Like, why can't he just take a hit of weed?
Federally, it is illegal. That is a crime.
It's true.
It's illegal to go to Colorado and buy weed. That's, even though it's legal in Colorado, that is technically illegal.
Right.
Like on a federal level.
Correct, yes.
And federal comes first before state, so.
Jesse, I texted you yesterday, man. I said, what are the point of politics in today's age? And what was your answer?
I don't remember the exact sentence that I used, but I was like, to keep people controlled or something along those lines.
Keep people in check?
Keep people in check.
And afraid.
Basically.
So I'm just curious. Whenever we did eventually come over here to the United States, and what was it? I mean, early or middle 1700s. And whenever we came here, you know what I'm saying? And we all know when we founded the Constitution, but I'm curious what it was like. I know it was war, and we were fighting against the British because they were taxing people, correct, immensely. And then we travel over here, and then we do what we do. Like, it's just a different time. Like, you don't think a civil war will ever erupt in the United States ever again?
Oh, quite possibly. I think it could. I don't see why not. I think there could be a lot of like tax reform and a bunch of stuff that changes. We're still I don't think people realize, because we live such short lives, you know? Like, we live to be like 80, 90 years old. If you're lucky, you live to be 100, you know what I mean? But we live short lives, so we don't see the big picture. But big picture-wise, we're a super young country. We've only been around for, what, 250 years?
Right.
That's not shit.
That's nothing.
It's nothing.
I mean, 100 years from now, 100 years is nothing. You're talking in 2 generations, 3, 4 generations, stuff could change. We could rewrite parts of the Constitution or whatever, new amendments, completely change how everything works. And there's nothing wrong with that because we're a very small country, which is why I think it's funny when people hold something so near and dear.
I love the fucking Joe Rogan stand-up whenever he talks about if you were to bring back like George Washington and talk to him, he'd be like, "You didn't write any new shit yet." Like,
but we guys can write some new shit.
But we've already talked about this, and we do write new shit. We do write new amendments, and we do pass new legislation. And
I'm saying, bigger changes, though. I'm saying more drastic changes,
more progressive changes.
But not within the first 4 amendments. What do we need to change about those first 4 amendments?
I'm not saying we necessarily need to.
What are the first 4 amendments? The first one's freedom of speech.
Yes.
The second one is right to bear arms. I don't know if I know the third and fourth one.
I don't know.
Is it free press?
One of those might.
I think 4 is free press. One of those.
I don't know what 3 is though.
Fuck, we're goddamn red-blooded Americans.
5th is
man.
what, the one to the right to not incriminate yourself or whatever.
Yeah. Plead the 5th.
That shit doesn't matter.
I mean, you just technically they can't persuade or otherwise whatever you have the right no matter what to not incriminate yourself, even if you're
those are all really good amendments. But I think fundamentally you need to add on like some more.
And like Paul
that
said,
gives you more freedom. You need it as an individual be given more freedom than what we already have now.
Plus, everything we talked about it last week, how everything changes, right? That if there's one thing that's always going to be certain, it's that change is certain. People change, so on and so forth. Countries change. So the fact is, I mean, like I said, we're a really young country, and people don't think about that. Like, really don't think about. We don't have a history. You want to talk about our history before the Revolutionary War and all that? I mean, we were British. We were English. Like, we don't have much of a country history, and yet we've done a lot in a short amount of time.
Yeah, thanks to technology and how beautiful that is.
It's just weird to me that culture changes, people change, moralities change, science changes, or science discovers new things that causes technological change in our understanding of the universe, but our laws are so behind to catch up to it. I feel like all of those changing things, as far as just general humanity shit, is like fucking like 50 fucking years ahead than like current laws that we have right now. And it takes so long for laws to catch up to allow all of it to fucking progress any farther, and it's just fucking frustrating as shit.
I think it's a red tape and a bureaucracy style thing.
It's
like
fucking
the
stupid.
System
it's
that
fucking, it should
the
be a
system
representation.
the system that we use to make laws and amend laws and change and create things and so on and so forth on a government side is really, really slow, and that could have been fine back in the day. But now technology and people and progressiveness of them and everything else rapidly escalates faster than law can keep up with.
Yeah, but then whenever something that is doing well, for instance, like Bitcoin or a brand new currency, how it blew up so fast, right? And then the government was so quick to put stipulations on it. Boom.
Right.
There's
Right.
no stipulations on Bitcoin.
But on cryptocurrencies, there are stipulations hardcore on that.
What kind of stipulations?
I mean, the United States government came in big time, dude. You didn't watch the documentary on that
but
shit?
I mean,
yeah,
what?
they did.
Okay, so they're trying to, but what are they actually
No,
doing?
they're not trying to. They did. They put in laws in place to put stipulations on cryptocurrencies because it's you'd have to watch.
I have to read it then and see what the.
For
'cause
sure.
I don't know of any stipulations on it.
There-
You right now, Paul, can buy Bitcoin and use Bitcoin to buy things.
But the reason it was hiking so much and shit like that, basically they tampered it down. They don't want that to be the currency for everyone. And the government
And it shouldn't be.
Well, and that's, you can say that, or whoever else can say that, but people like it. People in Venezuela where it's a socialist country and they don't have electricity half the time. That's how they use and buy products. It's through Bitcoin.
There's a lot of benefits to Bitcoin. There's also some issues with Bitcoin too. That is a very
And I'm not trying to go down the Bitcoin route. I'm just saying, whenever something big like that happens, the government is super quick to act on it and just put stipulations and shit like that.
Regulations, not like stipulations.
Regulations.
So much.
That's what
It's
I meant
more
to say.
regulations.
They put regulations on Bitcoin.
Okay.
Is what I meant to say. Thank you, Jesse.
And to a degree, I mean, and once again, this is coming from someone who's like, I'm completely uneducated on the subject matter, so take this with a grain of salt. But like, I think that there needs to be some regulations. I'm not saying that they should be able to track it or anything, because the whole point of Bitcoin.
What regulations does the federal do the feds have? What regulations do they have?
Like regulations on the way that our regular money works?
The Federal Reserve. What regulations do they have?
I mean, I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure
They
there's
have
plenty
zero.
of regulations.
They print money when they want. They print money on the spot when they need money.
I think there's some regulations there. I don't think they just print
There
money
was-
anytime they want in a crazy amount, because if so, then the worth of the American dollar would be way more volatile than it is right now.
It's pretty volatile.
It consistently goes down over time due to inflation, but it's not volatile. It's not.
I'm pretty sure that the books haven't been checked from the Federal Reserve in a very long time. So Trump said he wanted to audit the Federal Reserve, and I don't know if that's even ever happened before.
I'm just saying, in the last 10 years, $2 will always buy you a Coca-Cola. But in the last 10 years,
not at a restaurant.
Or in the last, I'm talking about like you go and buy a bottle of Coke at a gas station.
Like
a
a
can?
2 liter?
No,
Or
just
liter?
a bottle, like a
12
like
ounce.
yeah, sure, a bottle of Coke.
Okay.
No,
gas
it
station.
won't. They're over $2 now.
Yeah, it's like $2.19.
Yeah.
For just a regular 16-ounce bottle of whatever.
Yeah, it's like $2.19. It's not even $2. It's over $2 now.
Yeah. So with tax, yeah.
Okay. My point was around $2. Okay.
Okay.
Coke, the price is whatever. It's part of inflation and whatnot. The whole point I'm getting at is, though, with Bitcoin, the difference of how much that Coke costs you with Bitcoin is crazy. It could take one day, it could take 30 Bitcoins, and literally an hour later, it could take 0.05 Bitcoins to buy that same bottle of Coke.
For sure.
Because the value of the currency is very...
It's
and
volatile.
super
It goes
confusing to me.
all
And
over the
I
place.
have no idea how that shit fucking works.
The
It's
idea
very
behind
confusing.
Bitcoin is genius, and that's just that. So cash is anonymous. You can use cash anonymously. You, right now, can pay me with cash, and the government never has to know about it. It's the same thing with Bitcoin, except it's online. So if you were to go to Amazon and pay with Bitcoin, which you can't do right now necessarily, I mean, you kind of sort of can, but if you were to do that, the whole point is that it's anonymous and that it's just cash. It's cash over the internet, which is a good idea in theory, but there's a lot of problems with if it ever got balanced out like 50 years from now and had a little bit of regulation behind it, I dare say, to where it's not so volatile and all over the place and changing what it's worth not even every day, but every second, then I'd be completely cool with it.
Same. I mean, we're in a digital age, so eventually, I feel like currency. I mean, we all have debit cards and pay. You can pay with your phone now with Samsung.
Yeah, but the
Wallet,
thing is,
Apple
all
Wallet.
that's owned by the bank.
Right.
That's all. Everything you do right now is through banks. So I like the idea of Bitcoin and everything, being
takes out the credit card companies for sure.
It's online cash, basically. That's what Bitcoin is. It's online cash, which is great. That's genius.
And I'm surprised business
It's just so all over the place right now. It's unstable.
Well, and it hit that 20K, and then that's when it was looking really good, and people pulled money out and stuff like that. But that's when the regulations came in pretty hard because the government saw how well it was doing.
And I'd still have to look and see what these regulations are.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Facebook's trying to come out with their own cryptocurrency here soon and shit like that. And I mean...
And see, to me, I think people are missing what cryptocurrency is as well sometimes, like what it actually is. Because Facebook's saying that they want to come out with their own cryptocurrency. What does that mean? Do you mean stuff that you can just use to buy stuff on Facebook? Because that's called points.
You can't do that. The government... that's illegal. Like, you cannot come up with your own currency being a company in the United States. That's very much illegal.
No, what I'm saying, though, is what I'm talking about is the stuff that companies already do. Like, for example, Pizza Hut, you can use a point system to buy pizza.
Yeah, but
because you earn those points. That's what I'm saying.
You can't
if
use...
Facebook thinks that's what they're maybe that's just what they're calling cryptocurrency. Is you literally take U.S. American dollars from your credit card and buy Facebook cash. That's everything's got that.
I'd have to look into it. I mean,
But it's
Mark Zuckerberg's worth $96 billion. So, I mean, the dude has endless options.
I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying I
Right.
could see them doing that and labeling it cryptocurrency because it sounds cool and it's the in thing.
all I know is that within the United States, you cannot create your own currency. I guarantee you, no cryptocurrency has ever been created and established within the United States because it's very much illegal to do so.
Yeah, I could see that. And I don't think Facebook would. That's why I'm saying I think they're just using the term cryptocurrency because it's a hot button term.
Which is funny because the Federal Reserve technically isn't within the United States.
No, it's privately owned.
Yeah. They created their own currency and then said, hey, now you can't create your own
What do you mean the
currency.
Federal Reserve's privately owned?
Oh, it's been privately owned for a very long time.
Yeah. It has no affiliations with our government. We can't go in there. We can't
This is one of the biggest things that people like don't know about, just the average everyday person, that they go, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. So basically our government says, hey, we need some money. What we're going to do is we're going to send you U.S. I'm trying to think of what it's called, certificates of something. So they
Bonds?
send U.S. bonds over to the federal treasury, whatever the fuck it's called, and then they print out that amount of money off fucking money that isn't even existing yet that is already owed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's literally starts off with fucking interest,
Yeah.
which was ridiculous. Like there were people that fought very hard to get rid of that whenever the idea first came around, and they died.
I forget the chairman's name at the time, but it was in the late 80s, early 90s. And he was doing an interview with someone on a major network news station. And they were just basically talking to him about how the Federal Reserve can just basically do whatever they want.
See, that's right there, though. What Jesse just said is kind of proof that there are regulations there, even if they are privately owned, which I didn't know that. But even if they are, that's proof that the government has regulations on them because they can't just print money anytime they want. Like you just said, they printed the money because the government is giving them these.
But the government
US
decides.
bonds.
It's not
But
like...
the government
You're right,
decides
the government does
regardless.
decide.
Yeah.
But the whole point is that you're creating money on interest already because
Yeah.
the federal government is its own separate entity.
It's a corporation, our government is.
So literally, this is why you get such a heavy inflation reasoning. If you just start it from the top, obviously there's other reasons too, but like starting from the top and going down with the Federal Reserve. I'm sorry, I said Treasury earlier. I don't know why I fucked that up. The Federal Reserve is literally our dollar bill is printed less than it's already worth from the very start of it, just because of that reason. If that makes any sense, I
we'll
might.
always be in debt.
Yeah, always, because you can't. How do you pay the Federal Reserve money that they print? Basically, whenever it's you owe them. No, that's you can. You're right. You can never get out of debt because they print the money, and the government or we the people have to pay them basically to make the money. Makes no fucking sense, right? Why don't we just fucking print our money when we fucking need it? I don't know. It sounds pretty crazy.
I
to
don't
me.
know enough about the Federal Reserve and all that.
That's actually that's a very fucking real thing that people are like, no man, you're making that shit up. That's
Federal
some crazy
Reserve's part of the
conspiracy
government,
theory.
man. The government
Yeah.
controls our money.
That's some conspiracy theory shit. No, this is very real.
Yeah.
Very, very easily provable that this is how our money is created.
Oh, yeah. Do you think we live too long?
This has been a topic of a podcast before.
Yes.
You even made it the title of the podcast.
What do you mean?
The words that you just said, Paul. Do you think
Really?
we live too long?
I don't think I don't
yeah.
think we have one podcast called that. I'd venture out to say I'd bet $100 on it we don't have that.
We maybe not, but I remember you using those words out on the front porch, trying to come up with a title for that podcast.
No, in what aspect? I mean,
Saying the words, "Do we live too long? Do humans live too long?"
really?
Yeah, 100%, man.
And we talked about it. What did we talk about?
I mean, go into what were you just gonna say right now? It'll probably give me a refresher.
Do we live too long?
It was right around the time we did the podcast. That was, do humans just need to be quiet?
Right. That is not okay.
I mean, it's fine. I was just letting you know.
No, I know. I don't think that we've ever had.
I don't think that's a title.
Yeah, it's definitely not a title.
I'm looking through our stuff. I don't think it's.
I was just more curious. With everything that we go through in our day to day, and in today's age where you have medicine and shit like that can keep you alive longer and stuff like that, do we live too long? I mean, every day is a challenge. Every day that we wake up and we do the same thing every single day and we work and we work and we work. And yes, you can enjoy life and you enjoy those small things. Is that where maybe people living to 70, 80, 90 years old, and you have people who are presidents like Trump and McCain. Granted, McCain was never president, but people who are older running for president, they've literally lived 80 years and they just had all this time to think about shit.
Okay.
I don't, maybe I'm going off on a tangent.
I think
here.
we don't live long enough.
I don't know. I just think like for the average person, man, like you're a hard working person and you literally 40 years of hard work.
And then you just want it to end? You don't want more life after that?
I don't know.
I think we don't live long enough. That's my answer to your question.
Doesn't matter how long you live. You're talking about quality of life. Like if you have 100 years of shit life, then that's just awful. But like, it really comes down to quality of life. It really doesn't come down to actual longevity. It's like fucking Mel Gibson in Braveheart. He says, "Every man dies, but not every man really lives." You know, like that fucking.
I do feel the older you get,
quality.
though, the older you get, that means you're going through. I mean, your experiences through your life are completely different than my experiences through my life. But either or, we're both going to know a lot more about this world when we're 80 than we do right now. You have a lot more wisdom with time.
For sure.
And I believe that the longer you live, that's more wisdom to be gained, so on and so forth. As to where there may be things that you learn and experience that you would have never got to learn and experience if your life ended at 40. You can say the same thing for 90. I mean, if the average human lifespan was 200 years and then someone died at 90, like they didn't get to learn and experience, you know, I don't know. I don't think we live long enough. I'm not saying someone should live forever, because that would get ridiculous and boring and so on and so forth. There's got to be there's a time span there.
That's a little counter opposite thing you said right there. But so you
contradictory.
So you shouldn't live forever, but we don't live long enough though.
No, I get
so
exactly
like
what you're saying.
500 years?
No,
Like
there's no
500
perfect
years
number,
solid.
right? There's no perfect number. I'm just answering what Paul's simple question was. Do you think we live too long? My answer is no. I don't think we live long enough. I think it should be longer.
Well, we've all been here for give or take 30 years. I mean, pretty close to it.
Right around there.
Exactly. And
fuck.
Right? Right?
I mean, I'm literally doing the same thing every single day.
I'm fucking 29 now.
And I'm not saying I want to die or anything like that. Or I'm just curious, man, because I'm literally doing the same thing every single day, and I have to think to myself that I could potentially be doing this same thing that I'm doing now for the next 15 to 20 years.
You're allowed to change what you do.
And that's very true. But that's the beautiful part about living in the United States is that I do have that opportunity. I can go out and do something else. But some people choose the route of doing that same thing until they're 50. And it's crazy to me that someone could live their life that way.
I mean, you're doing it right now, as far as you know.
It's true.
This is what I've gathered from my almost 29 years of existence on this planet, is that it's not so much what you do, it's how you view what you do. There are days when I go in and I live a day working, doing whatever, and I hate it, and I'm just like, oh, this is bullshit, and I just find everything that's fucking wrong in the goddamn day. Other days I come in and I do the exact same shit, basically exact same thing, make the same amount of money, and I go, man, look at these benefits that I get. Like look at what I'm able to do. I got the whole rest of the day off. I got, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all this, and I find just everything that's good about it. And it's all mentality. It's not, you can find
good and bad
happiness
and everything.
It all depends on where you put your attention to mentally. If you just focus on the bad in anything and you just overlook all the good, then yeah, it's gonna fucking seem like shit. I think it's mainly where we put our attention to on the day, which a lot of like Hindu and like Taoist religions are like, always remember to be thankful for whatever you have. If you're poor and you're on your deathbed, you can still find something to be thankful for, no matter what. And then all of a sudden,
It's a good philosophy.
It really is. Like, you could, even in the darkest of moments, you'll still be able to find something that's good in life that you can be thankful for. And I think that's the difference, man. You can be a billionaire and be unhappy, right? There's plenty of those. Plenty of billionaires who are unhappy. Plenty of people who are...
How many billionaires do you know that are unhappy?
I guarantee you there's some out there that still feel unfulfilled.
Do you know any of them?
No, I don't know a single billionaire, man.
Okay. I was just curious.
So, because You just kind of ran me over there a little bit, Paul. No, it comes down to mentality is what I'm saying. It doesn't matter your scenario. You can always find happiness in things, and you can always find the shittiness that's fucking in life too. It's just a matter of where you focus your attention and you put your energy into being like, oh man, this is shitty, or oh man, this is actually really good, you know?
But
that's my piece on that. That's my piece on that.
I like it. It's just crazy to think that you could find happiness in something for 30 straight years doing the same thing. Because a lot of people, they take pride in what they do and they keep that job for 30 years. And some people don't know anything else. And the only qualities that they have in life is for what they're doing, and that's what they're good at. And they really don't have any other options. Like you said, they do have options, but they don't go outside the box, and they're not going to try and venture out to other options because they're scared of that. You know?
I think that's the real problem.
Yeah, and we're all scared. I mean, it's within us in our instinctual habits. Once you're comfortable, to not go outside of your comfort zone, right? And it's just a lot of people just do the same thing for 30 straight years, and that to me is just wild, man. And I think it's
I get that because that's crazy to me as well. I've talked about that with you, where I'm like, man, the monotony of every day just doing the same thing over and over, it gets boring for anybody. But I also agree with what Jesse's saying about how it's all about how your outlook is for the day and the time at hand. You know, like you can be a welder for 40 years and love your job, and you can be another welder in the same company for 40 years and hate your job. It just depends on, and you can be making $60,000 a year and supporting a family and so on and so forth, and be like, man, millionaires have it so nice. At the same time, you could make $5,000 a year and be on the streets and whatnot, and be like, man, those people with a house that make $50,000 a year have it so nice. I would be so much happier if I was. I mean, it's outlook.
Right. To me, it makes me wonder if whenever we went on the path that we went on as a country or even as a civilization, was it the right path? You know, like everyone working mundane jobs, doing the day-to-day. I don't know what other options are because this is all we know and this is all we see as a civilization.
Dude, our civilization did it best as far as like labor laws that came in. Like we were the first country to come in and say, hey, you need 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, and then 8 hours of just enjoyment, or, you know, like not working. That was unheard of before. Back when the first...
yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah, that came from a guy in the United States who like set that up as far as like general labor laws go, which is why you get paid more for going over 40 hours a week, because how that mathematically breaks down.
What's funny is we acclimate to that and then end up not liking that either. I literally just read, not even like yesterday or the day before, literally earlier today, was reading something, and it just started from a meme, honestly. I just saw a meme on Facebook from some kind of socialist meme page bullshit that popped up, and I was like, clicked on it and so on and so forth, and then I saw something else in there talking about how they had done studies and people worked like 4 6-hour shifts or something for like 2 months straight instead of, 5 8-hour shifts or whatever, and it talked about how their quality of life improved and so on and so forth. And I was like, well, obviously, because they're working less and they got more time to do what they want. But if you were to move everybody in the world or everybody in the United States to 4 6-hour shifts a week or whatever,
less shit would get done.
Well, that, but also eventually you would acclimate to that. It'd take tons of time. It may take 100 years. But you would acclimate to that the exact same that we acclimate to what we are now, and then people would ask them for 3 4-hour shifts a week instead. Like, it's always going to...
I would want to know the details on that study. Like
too,
what job are they doing? Like, are they doing like fucking hard labor? Like, are they doing like super fucking hard labor, or are they just like doing desk work? Like there's a lot that goes into that.
But you can say, Jesse, so you work 4 days a week right now, and you can honestly say that if you were working 5 or 6 instead, it would probably suck a lot more than the 4 you're working right now.
Yes, if they were the same like high intensity shifts that I'm working right now,
same, yeah.
I would get burnout. Yeah.
But
exactly.
That's
my point. Your job is different from someone else's job, so
it's true.
But with the amount of hours that you work in a week, there's only so many hours in a week. It's finding that in between, which is what they found, that 40 hours is, I mean, that's the threshold. Anything over that, that's when your mind starts saying, man, what the fuck am I doing?
And that's doing a job in which you are not like truly passionate about and feel completely.
It's just mundane.
With.
You're doing it.
Just the shit you got to do to be able to pay bills. And,
right.
Did
so you don't think our civilization went the wrong way? You think that
no,
way?
No, not at all.
No. capital. I mean, not even capitalism. I won't even bring that up. But the way that we have created the earth that we have now today, it's a good way that we went.
I
There's
agree with
nothing wrong with
what
work.
we've said multiple times, which is right now, this second is the best time to be alive before any other second
There's
in the world. It's consistently gotten better.
And there's nothing wrong with work. There's nothing wrong with, going in and doing something you don't necessarily, fully enjoy fucking doing. I mean, you shouldn't be miserable. Completely fucking miserable.
Sometimes you got to
But-
do things you don't want to do, though,
Yeah, but
to
I mean,
better...
but that's also work. That just kind of comes along with it. But you end up feeling fulfilled because you went through a little bit of struggle, too, and you came out the other side. After you worked a hard shift and you get off, there's a sense of... I enjoy my day or those next couple hours so much more because I just got off work as opposed to where, I didn't do shit that day. I just woke up, laid in bed, watched Gotham, fucking jerked off, had a fucking PBR, whatever the fuck. No, there's way more fulfillment from putting in a hard day's worth of work and then getting off and just breathing, be like, all right, I put in my
now
work.
I can jerk off
Put
and
in my
watch
work.
PBR.
Now, yeah.
Watch PBR.
Watch PBR.
Watch PBR, drink some
At
Gotham.
the same time, though, we've been led to believe, or not led to believe, we've been forced into doing this to live, to have a life, to pay the bills, to have a house over your head.
You're right.
So, I mean, if we were brought up a different way is what I'm saying, it could be different. And I don't know in which way.
You're talking about some socialism where you just
No,
live in a
no.
house.
Man,
No,
I mean,
I'm not even
if you
talking
think
like
about
that.
it, compared to our ancestors, even my grandfather, the dude worked. He had a little mini farm. He lived on, some acreage. He would farm. He'd wake up early, go to work, come home. It was constant work for them. Even this is what is that considered? 2 generations ago? 2 generations ago.
Yeah.
Dude, there was no day off really. They just
He was
worked
always
constantly.
out there
Just
working,
constantly.
I mean,
And
you're
technically-
outside and tending to your land and your animals.
I mean,
That you're coming
and-
up with if you enjoy it or not, though, it's still
right,
work.
for sure.
And as an adult, you really shouldn't ever have a completely full day off. There's probably always something that needs to be done, but whether or not I do it or not.
Yeah,
And then
instead of
things start piling up.
cleaning out the gutters at home,
And then
I
things
like
can
to
kinda
drink
pile
beer
up.
instead.
I'm at guilt for being a procrastinator. I've had that issue throughout my lifetime at different varying levels of procrastination. But no, there should always be something that you're going to have to do that's considered a little bit of work, every day. But I think that's just part of the human experience.
What about this experience of being a human being? People who are police officers, man, where do you think deep inside, after you've gotten the job of being a police officer, right? And I respect the police force. I know a lot of policemen and policewomen. I respect the shit out of them, man. I love them. Thank you for serving and protecting us. But I mean, there's so many videos out there, and I know that human beings can be wild at times, whether it's good or bad. And what do you think is that instinct, man? Where, for instance, I watched this video the other night, and someone had taken a package from across the street. So they called the police. It was a Comcast box. They wanted their TV, internet, blah, blah, blah. It was a Comcast box. So
someone stole it from across the street? Or
Yeah, the package got delivered. And then the person across the street came over and took that package and said it was their Comcast box.
Oh, okay.
So they called the police. The police come. They put the chick who stole it allegedly into the cop car. She's like, no, that's my Comcast box. I can show you all this. They're like, all right, well, I'm going to go over there and talk to these people who said it was originally theirs. So two cops go over there. And then this guy is walking into the house with his baby as the cops are talking to the 2 chicks, which was a mom and maybe his sister or something. Well, he's got an open carry. He walks into his house with a gun on his side. And the cops got threatened by that. They instantly got threatened by that, and basically saying he walked back outside just to see what was going on, and the cop puts his hand on his gun. It's why?
What do you mean why? I understand why the cop would put his hand on his gun.
Dude, he's walking into his house with his baby, and he has the right to
You're right.
open carry.
He does have the right. He does have the right.
But then
that
it turned
cop also has the right to at least put his hand there and be ready in case something goes down. Now, if he had drawn it or so on and so forth, yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
but
man,
the
come
shit
on.
that they go through every single fucking day,
right.
I would, if I was a police officer and someone walked out with an open carry, I would go like this while talking to them, because you have to be ready for the worst in people at any time. Would I draw? Would I aim it at them and be like, put the gun down? Any of that? No. But I would be ready in case I needed to. And then I would probably ask them very briefly about it. They would explain, yeah, I'm an open carry, and I also have my CCW, so on and so forth, owned it for so long, whatever, I'm completely able to have this legal. And then you can judge as a human interaction of how you're communicating with them, whether it's completely chill or not, and go from there. But yeah, someone that I do not know, and the shit that I would see every single day as a police officer, if I see someone else in possession of a weapon, I'm also going to be ready in case something goes down.
But at the same time, and it goes both ways, and I guess maybe you're right. Maybe that's just going to be how it's going to be. But how many videos have we seen where police officers have killed innocent people for drawing a cell phone? You know, there's got to be an in between. But what I'm saying is like some officers feel like they're above the law. I think we can all agree with that.
You're 100% right.
You know, and whenever you're put in a position of power, which you're really not even put in a position of power, you're put in a position to serve and protect. You shouldn't,
which they don't do anymore.
That is a position of power. Being a police officer is very much a position. Any public service position is a position of power,
but not to where you should feel entitlement over someone else. You're just another
right.
person. Just because you carry around a gun, I can do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't. We're not different in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, I guess I don't know what you're getting at as part of your original.
Like I said, I've seen so many videos lately of just police officers abusing their power, man.
Yeah, there's bad eggs in everything,
and they tend to stand out, and it's not
with the way the media is these days. It's real easy to point out.
I don't watch none of this shit's put on the media. I mean,
no, I mean when I say media, I mean all forms of media.
Right.
Hence YouTube videos.
Gotcha.
YouTube videos are a source of media.
For sure.
The fact that we're so interconnected with the internet and cameras everywhere and so on and so forth, and the way that our minds work and what we find entertaining, or not always entertaining, but what we find that gets that adrenaline going, whatever it is that works you up inside, those videos are going to get more views and make it to the top quicker than a video of a cable box being stolen and then a cop just talking to a person and nothing happens.
For sure.
Nothing good happens. The cop doesn't do a little dance and like celebrate with the kids and play basketball and shoot hoops, and the cop doesn't pull his gun out and shoot anybody. The cop just has a normal, everyday interaction with someone. You're not going to see that video on YouTube.
There's a lot, but that's what actually happens all the fucking time.
Exactly. That's the majority.
Is what
you're going to see. There's always bad seeds. There's always bad apples in everything, and you're going to see that. Just like you see some good ones too. You see some really out there good ones. You see the cop playing basketball with the kids. Like you see that too.
No, and from my own experiences, you know, I've had small experiences with cops, and they've been fairly decent for the most part. Minus SWAT team coming into my house, that was not fun in any way.
Sounds awful.
Yeah,
I remember that story.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I'm curious, and I'll hit you up about that at another time.
For sure. I think that they have too much power.
No,
man.
I mean I get where you're coming.
Do.
Okay, I don't like the police as a. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't like the police as an institution that they are right now. Like the idea behind them's great. I have no problem with individual officers. We all know of one officer right off the top of our heads. Got no problem, so on and so forth. Like, no issues there. But the idea of what the police do, of the money that they make, so on and so forth, and the reason that they're getting this money, the fines that are put on people for certain things that I'm like, this is absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that.
What I was about to say is that we actually, and not a whole lot of people are educated on this, but we have plenty of rights whenever like we get pulled over by police and stuff like this. There's plenty of things that back us up to where whenever that traffic stop happens or that interaction happens, whatever it is, we have a whole bunch of rights, and they actually are in service to us throughout that whole thing. And we should be in control of the scenario. But the problem is, that police sometimes they almost don't like it if you are not, it's not even being cooperative, but it's almost like
if you're not submissive to the whole situation.
Yeah, if you're not submissive, and then all of a sudden, which whether or not that's, but that's their job to kind of deal with that, and they almost get irritated. I feel like this is not every cop, but some cops maybe need to be a little bit more respectful at the fact that, we understand our rights, and if this isn't exactly how you want things to go, you are still a public servant, and these things happen. Now, I will say this on the other end, to back up cops, that there's a lot of times when people are complete just like fucking assholes to fucking cops whenever they're just trying to like do their job, and it could be a lot simpler, for the traffic stop, and then people fucking make it a huge fucking deal and shit. So it happens like both ways too. But my whole thing, and this just comes just generally, just fucking be respectful. If you get pulled over by police, this is what just tends to happen in just everyday human interaction. If you were to interact with a stranger you've never met before, and you're very polite with them, and you're respectful to them, chances are everything will be okay. Same thing with a police officer. But if you start interacting just like super aggressive towards a police officer, then like some shit fucking like it's not,
But just because you act
just
aggressive,
be respectful.
But if you're just sitting there,
You can be respectful and still uphold your rights and everything within that traffic scenario.
But what's the difference with being aggressive with just a normal individual?
You
and
shouldn't
being
do that either.
Or being aggressive with a cop. You're right. You shouldn't
You
do
shouldn't
either.
be disrespectful and an asshole to random people.
But what's the difference? You know what I'm saying? And when you say aggressive, it could be whatever. I mean, like you could get this dude got pulled over, and again, like you said, it's just something I saw on the internet. He literally got pulled over, and his exhaust pipe, it went like pop, and a cop thought it was a gunshot. So literally, she called everyone, dude, and there was 20 cops on that motherfucker. He got pulled over. He had the camera on him. He's like, dude, I don't know why I'm getting pulled over. The cop thought it was gunshots. Fucking like 20 cops, ARs on his gun shield, like, dude, put your hands fucking up. Don't move your fucking, like, dude, like, really.
I mean, it's intense, and that's really shitty.
No one should ever have to go through that.
Okay,
man.
here's the opposite side of that. I've seen a video where a cop walks up, has a completely normal conversation with the guy, 100% normal, goes to ask him for his ID and everything, and in half a second later, that cop gets shot twice in the chest through the fucking window. Oh yeah, let me get my ID. Goes like this, and then goes like that and shoots him twice in the chest.
I'd be
cop
curious,
has no time to react.
I'd be curious why he got pulled over.
He got pulled over for speeding. He had a stolen vehicle. They didn't know that it was stolen at the time. Like when the cop is walking up to his window, he doesn't know that it's stolen. But gets pulled over for speeding or taillight or whatever it was. It was something real small. Cop walks up there like a normal everyday interaction. Nothing. Cop wasn't doing any being an asshole, just talking or whatever. It's all on camera, and then gets shot twice in the chest like that. I mean, like no time to react whatsoever.
For sure.
And that's something they deal with every single day, multiple times a day, having to walk up to a random car that you have no idea who's in it, and you've seen these videos of cops being shot, so on and so forth. Car could be stolen, guy could be high on meth. You have no fucking clue what you're about to encounter, and your life could end right then and there. So you're constantly on edge, constantly dealing with that shit. So yeah, if a fucking exhaust backfires or whatever, and that's a gunshot, and you've got all these other things going to your head that you deal with every day, like, I don't mind them being freaked out and all that. And
that
yes,
dude could have died.
You're right, he could have, and that would have fucking sucked. But the other thing is, do you really think he would have died if, okay, all these cops show up, they got ARs, it gets crazy, shit's blown out of proportion, and all he does is stick his hands out the window and go like this, and that's what he does the entire time until they come over and talk to him, remove him from the vehicle. Everything gets explained. There's no gun, so on and so forth. Everything continues. It's a shitty situation.
It's a traumatic experience.
It is. It is a traumatic experience, and it sucks. But guess what? Traumatic experiences happen in life, and they fucking suck. It's something you deal with, and then you move on.
Right. And then when you sign up to be a cop, you have to be to understand you're willing to you're being a part of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
That's a rough fucking job. That shit's a rough
it's
fucking
bad
job.
on both sides, but you can't. I'm just tired of people taking, like I said, I have no problem with individual police officers, but I hate the idea behind what it's turned into with money and so on and so forth. But anybody who's 100% against the police or 100% like protect the blue, if you 100% support the police and everything that they do and the institution as a whole, and all
they
the
can get
guts,
away with everything.
yeah,
where
blah,
the
blah.
punishment should be minimal.
You're completely
because-
like, well, that guy should have done this, and he doesn't know. Blah blah blah. Just cooperate. Just cooperate. No, sometimes you shouldn't cooperate because that's a bad egg cop who is doing something illegal, and on vice versa. You got to understand that cops deal like there's always a gray area. I just
agree,
don't
yeah.
like when people are like fuck the police.
Yeah,
and at the exact
same.
same time, you have people who are like let the police do whatever they want.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It'll never be solved. It's always going to be the same.
But that's
issue.
you can say that about any issue or argument
for sure.
And
but I think it pertains to a lot of us because cops are involved in our everyday life.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do you still get nervous whenever you get pulled over?
I would. It's been a while since I've been pulled over.
I do
but,
every time, no matter what. And just don't get me wrong, I did a lot of fuckery back when I was like between the ages of like 16 and like 19 mainly. Those 3 years, I did a lot of fucking fuckery. I got in a lot of trouble. But even now, if I get pulled over, I still get nervous. It's just like something that triggers within me. I'm like, fuck. I still get nervous.
By you getting
I don't ever
nervous,
think that I'm gonna get fucking like shot or
Killed or
anything like
nothing.
that.
No.
Yeah, but
But I'm like, dude, if this guy's having a fucking bad day, dude,
You about to get some tickets that you didn't deserve.
Yeah, he could.
Yeah, but
He could.
they can
Really,
send-
he could cause some fucking trouble for me if he's having a bad day.
Yeah, and they could.
That's why I
sense
try
that
to be
you're
super
nervous.
polite, super polite, super respectful every time I get pulled over. You know, I've actually never, even though I know it's within my rights, whenever they ask to like search my car, I always let them.
And you don't, but you don't have to. You know, you don't.
Even when I had fucking weed in my car and I've been arrested for weed 3 times and they asked to search the car, I was never like, no, you can't search the car. I'm like, man, I have fucking weed on me. Like, yeah, man, I have weed in the car. Like, you know, I got it. There's no getting around it. There was actually.
I mean, there is though. You can say that you don't want your car to be searched.
I don't know if I should be
Yeah.
saying this. I have been patted down before and did not say anything and had weed like stuck up underneath my ball sack. That did happen once. I don't know if I should be saying that over this podcast.
You got away with it?
Yeah, I got away with it. He patted me down and everything. It was the
Nice.
winter time, so I had a lot of layers on, and I was doing some like snow removal, and it smelled like weed in the car. And he was like, "Hey, do you have anything on you?" And I like rolling papers. I had rolling papers, like by my ashtray and like cigarettes and all that shit. He's like, "Hey, well that's." He's like, "Hey man, it kind of smells a little bit like weed in here, and you got papers right there. Like, can I search the car?" I was like, "Yeah, man, search the car." Patted me down and everything, but I had already had the shit tucked because I'd been arrested like 3 fucking times prior. Like, I know like small amounts tucked under the ball sack. Probably shouldn't be saying any of this right now. That's the way to transport it, man. Weed should be fucking legalized anyway. God damn it. Just give me my fucking little bit of fucking. Give me my not even dime bag worth of fucking weed, man.
I don't remember what I was gonna say now about that.
No, you're right. It's a tough situation, man. It goes both ways, and I feel for anyone who has to be involved in these situations, whether it be the citizen or the cop. But at the end of the day, I think we're all the same.
I do remember what I was gonna say. Is that the people who like? Here's the other thing. If you get pulled over for speeding, right? Let's say the cop says you're going 70 in a 55, and you know you were only going 55. Like, you know for a fact you're only going 55.
Or your instrument could be off, or their instrument could fucking be off.
Here's the thing. Do not get into a huge argument with the cop right there. They're going to write you a ticket one way or another. You're only making it worse for yourself. And this isn't about protecting your rights or so on and so forth. This is just a fact. They're going to write you that ticket. And the more of an asshole you are about it isn't going to make anything better for yourself. You know what you do? You take that ticket, and then you go to the court and you get it solved that way. Because just because someone gives you a ticket does not automatically make you guilty. I have gotten out of, without paying money, by the way. I mean, no lawyer, no going to a court date, just going to the courthouse in person with the ticket, showing them, explaining my situation, explaining what went down, and got out of it with no issue. They just write it off right then and there. That you don't, when you get a ticket, it doesn't mean you have some kind of record. It doesn't do any of that. Like, the cop is not the end-all, be-all of that situation. He's not handing you out sentencing right then. You can take a ticket for running a red light or running a stop sign or something and go and talk about it, explain the situation, go through what happened. They can pull up footage and be like, oh, you're right, you didn't. He shouldn't have gave you this ticket, so on and so forth. And then it's all solved right then if you're actually innocent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Judges.
it doesn't always work out that way. I'm just saying from my personal experience, I've gotten out of more, and I haven't had that many. We're talking like 3 or 4 total in my life. But 2 of them were legitimately, I got out of them because I was not speeding.
If you want to know like some actual corruption within the system, I wouldn't look so much towards police officers. Like, bad shit obviously can happen within that, but what happens within like DAs and trials and shit, at the fact that we no longer look for truth anymore within the justice system, it's strictly just who can we pin this on, and it's not absolute truth, even though this is fucking hazy, but we're gonna make this work no matter what. Like, and they will like never give up, even though there's like blatant like evidence like against or whatever, and they still fucking, they don't care about the truth so much as just getting a conviction.
Right.
So I think if you actually were to be within a justice system and looking at flaws within that, I think that that's a big problem. That we don't look for truth within the what is that, defense?
Yeah, having
the state, whatever.
Having a judge. I mean, I would assume that most convictions come from a judge.
The majority are like smaller ones.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Some by jury, but
you have the right to a jury no matter what, though.
Yeah.
If you want to go that route.
Right. But just to have one single person, it doesn't matter what their affiliation is when it comes to whatever party that they're aligned with, or even when it comes to morals, they have that decision over someone's life. I think that's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
And like Jesse said, sometimes the evidence is there and they still get convicted. And they still spend their life in jail. And we've all seen those instances where people spend life in jail 20, 30 years.
We've had this conversation on the podcast where it's so fucked up to say this, but I rather let... And I'm not going to go down the philosophical road of talking about, like, killers and rapists and all this shit. That's not... I don't want to bring up that conversation. But for, like, smaller stuff, I rather let 9 people get away with speeding 10 miles an hour over or whatever than have one innocent person arrested for it. Honest to God. And I'm just doing something real small because, like I said, I don't want to get into the ethics behind the killers and so on and so forth. But in general, I'd rather let 9 other people go free if it means that an innocent person doesn't have to go to fucking jail.
Yeah, no. So 9 other people get away with speeding?
Yeah.
As opposed to one person going to jail for life?
I didn't say for life. I just mean...
Like one person goes to jail for a couple weeks?
Yeah, sure.
But the other 9 get away.
I'm saying that I'm saying that nobody innocent should be... If you were to compare the numbers 1 to 9, I'd rather 9 people who did something illegal go free than have one person who was 100% innocent get in trouble for a crime that they didn't commit.
That's a very old school philosophical statement that is held true throughout time.
Everyone should be free, man. And I know it's impossible, but everyone should be free.
That's not...
You just turned it into some weird when you're talking about life and like all this different... I'm just saying in general, the whole point of it is that I don't want to see an innocent person put in prison. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
I'd rather see some guilty people not be if that's the route you got to take. Like if they were to pull over 10 people, or they find a group of 10 people and they tell them, they specifically say, hey, 9 of these people are guilty of this crime. 9 of them are 100% guilty. 1 of them is 100% innocent. We don't know which is which, so we're just going to send all 10 to jail. No, you let all 10 of them walk, even the 9 guilty ones. You don't send the innocent person.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can say that right now because I haven't been in any kind of crazy situation like that, but
it's crazy.
That's what I believe in at this point in my life.
Man, where was that fucking mentality whenever we went to war in Iraq? Like, that mentality was not there. I know that switches. I don't want to go down that road, but I find that ironic because that does that in my opinion, that moral philosophical statement holds true. And man, that did not exist with the war in Iraq at all. But
what's more vulnerable, our education system or our incarceration system?
What do you mean by vulnerable?
Or which one needs to be fixed first?
Education. Ooh, that's actually tough. Like literally as I'm answering that, as I'm saying education because it's super important to me. Like I didn't even get that word all the way out of my mouth, and then I like did a double take. That's really hard, actually, between the two. Because our education needs to be completely overhauled, and that would fix a lot. Like fix a ton of stuff. But at the same time, our incarceration system right now is run rampant with flaws.
I would almost have to still say education just because that would prevent. I think education would actually prevent
fix the incarceration thing down the road.
Kind of more so. But don't get me wrong, that's also something that needs to be, I agree, completely overhauled. I would still say education.
What was
first.
it that this is really
Just
recent
I'm
actually?
Jesse Westbrook, and that's what I always go to.
I think it was California. I think California just made for-profit or privately owned prisons illegal.
Good.
I think it was California that just did that.
There's a lot of things I don't agree with what California does first, but I'll agree with that one. That's awesome.
Like what? What has California done that you don't agree with?
What do you mean?
I mean, people. No, I want your perspective on this. I'm not trying to call you out.
Right.
I'm really not. I honestly want your perspective because it's something that people say a lot of the time.
Yeah.
People say that California is really progressive. They're super liberal. They're super left wing, and I don't agree with what they do. But can you name me something they've done that you don't agree with?
Yeah, I mean, just recently, obviously, turning off power to millions of people for the forest fires.
And we've talked about that, and that's...
the governor recently came out and said that he's confused on why their gas is so expensive, like their gasoline for cars. And come to find out, he's actually the same governor who passed laws in California to increase tax rates
Okay.
on gasoline. And people try to go even deeper and say even if that were the case, it's still more expensive than the average price for other states. But then basically the dude's just an idiot, whatever. And then they also, I think I'm pretty sure they passed mandatory vaccines for everyone or for
Gotcha.
kids and shit like that. So.
And I can see how you would like disagree with that. I understand that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm against vaccines or for vaccines, but I think that it should be up to the person. That's just my opinion.
And honestly, when I asked you that question, it wasn't even so much directed at you, Paul.
No, I know that.
It was a
I know that.
general like
what
it's
are people
something-
talking about?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I hear all the time some super and I've said it before. I'm not real liberal. I'm not real conservative. I'm real close to the middle, maybe slightly left of middle, just barely left of middle. And it depends on what views you're talking about too.
Same.
But
That's
in
how it
general,
should be.
yeah, in general though, I hear a lot of super conservative people say that they don't like what California did or blah 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 blah. And I'm like, what are you actually talking about? Like, are you talking about gay marriage? Are you talking about weed? Are you talking?
Right.
Like, what are the things you're actually talking about
Well,
that
there-
have
it's
upset you so bad?
Extremely expensive to live there as well.
Yeah, but I mean I don't know what that has to do with like. I was just making a statement about some, in general, people who say I don't like. You know,
Right. What
bullshit.
legislation or what laws or
Yeah.
what? Yeah.
Like, California sucks.
Well,
it's way too liberal. Bunch of hippies. Blah blah. I'm
and
like,
I'm-
name something that actually happened
And I'm
that
pretty
you
sure
disagree with on a moral level.
There are people in certain districts that have actually passed within their district legislation to give free health care to illegal immigrants as well in California.
And I could see how that would bother a lot of people.
Yeah.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
So that's fair. It was a general. I've never actually heard.
Right.
I usually just hear people say like, fuck California,"
Right. Same.
and I'm like, you haven't given me a reason.
Well, and then the point you just pulled up, I like that. I mean, that's one thing. Like I said, of
As long
many
as you
that-
can back it up with anything,
Yeah.
I'll. That's as long as you have a viewpoint.
Have you been to Cali?
behind your viewpoint? Only as a kid.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Man.
Only as a
I
kid.
love it. Huntington Beach is my favorite part. I mean, San Diego too is beautiful. I like San Diego more so than Los Angeles. I'm just not a big fan of Los Angeles.
I feel like in general, if someone's going to have any kind of opinion or something, myself included, and I'm sure I don't all the time either. I try to, but if you're going to have an opinion on something, at least have one thing to back it up.
For sure.
Now, don't have it be a Facebook opinion where you're like, I hate this thing.
Oh, dude.
And then I'm like, why do you hate this thing?
You bring up Facebook, man.
And then it's like they don't know why they hate the thing. They just hate it because why do you actually hate Green Day? Why do you hate Nickelback? Everybody's got a problem with Nickelback. Why? Give me a reason why you don't like Nickelback.
Band name.
And then
I can actually tell you why I hate Nickelback.
yeah, go for it. That's fine. That's fine. But
I can break that down for
You get
you.
the point I'm trying to make, though, right?
Yeah,
Is when
no.
people just hate something to hate it, and when you
Well,
actually
because
ask them
it's
a
actually,
reason, they've
it's
got
actually,
nothing.
It's because it's
Zero.
cool. It's because it's cool and it's socially acceptable amongst the crowd to fucking hate it.
Yeah, and if they would have actually
Which
come out,
some-
if they would come out and say that, if they would say,
Everybody else around me hates it, so I
they
fucking
say,
hate it too.
I hate Nickelback because it's
I don't
funny
form
to
my own
hate
opinions.
Nickelback because I like memes. I like the idea of Nickelback being hated. If you come out and say that to my face, I won't be disappointed at all. I'll be like, that's a good reason. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I could keep a boner and fuck through goddamn near you throw on any fucking song, you throw on some Nickelback, I literally lose blood out of my dick.
That's a good reason to dislike Nickelback.
I literally I
That would be your answer if someone came
it's
up to you
I
and said, hey.
personally just don't enjoy their music at
music.
all. And it's come to the point now to where I mean you could turn on Weird Al Yankovic and I could blast through that whole album. You throw on a Nickelback album, my dick would be soft through the whole thing. I literally couldn't do it.
And if I were to ask you that question and you gave me that answer, which is what just happened,
I'm
I'd be
cool
like,
with that.
perfectly valid reason.
Yeah.
Perfectly valid reason.
But it's not like
Can't fuck to a Nickelback album, man.
No.
it's not like
the only
no.
thing I can't fuck to is goddamn Nickelback.
That's what's wrong, man. Like watching a lot of videos again. I do that too much. But for instance, what you're kind of describing, Johnny, is there's this YouTube channel called Liberty Hangout, and she has affiliations with InfoWars. She reports for InfoWars, which is banned by YouTube. But anyway, she'll just go to whatever rallies. She'll go to Trump rallies. She'll go to Democratic rallies. Just try and talk and get people's messages.
Mm-hmm.
She's obviously she's biased in some ways, but
Everybody is.
But she doesn't portray it when she's actually trying to interview people. But she's in Austin, Texas, and they're going to this leftist like pro-abortion, like or people should be able to abort baby fetuses, whatever term the woman is in.
I got you.
And she's there, and she's like going around asking people why, and they're like, no, I'm not going to talk to you. You're InfoWars. No, I'm not going to talk to you. Like, They won't even answer her questions. They won't even talk to her. They won't look at her. They won't.
No.
There are people following her around, like trying to interrupt what she's doing while she's doing it the
Yeah,
whole
see,
time.
that's all ridiculous. I will say I understand someone saying that they don't want to talk to someone because they're a specific. That's like Trump saying that he doesn't want to talk to a certain news station. You don't have to.
But he does. He still does, though.
I know, but I'm saying you don't have to.
Right.
If you don't want to talk to
exactly.
something because you feel like they're a biased source.
But they're like,
of
in the interview, they're like, get the fuck out of here. Is
yeah,
what
no,
they're telling her.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just bringing
For
up
sure.
the one part you talk about where they specifically said, I don't want to talk to you because you're InfoWars
Right.
and you're biased.
Yeah.
Why
I get
wouldn't
that.
Why wouldn't you be able to talk to anybody? I'm confused why that even matters.
It was fresh. It was very hard to watch, man. It was
I'm
15
sure it was.
minutes.
I'm sure it was.
15 minutes.
Because
of-
you're right. You should be able to answer.
like if your opinions are your opinions, they're going to be the same. I mean, people can try to form fit questions to make you look bad, and that's always shitty.
I think that's
and I think like
no,
Jordan
I think that's the
Peterson.
reason.
I think the best example is Jordan Peterson did an interview on I can't even remember the news station. He's being interviewed by a blonde-haired woman, and she's just trying to back him into a corner and just like purposefully just trying to like make him fucking look bad, and he still fucking killed it the whole way through. Like he still went out there and had the same opinion. Still, I think it almost validates your structure in how you view the world and your opinions. If ever you're able to get on somewhere that's really biased and trying to make you look bad, and you still stay strong through the whole thing,
Hell
and
yeah.
be
Oh,
so that shouldn't be a factor in my opinion. Like it doesn't matter who's interviewing you.
I think it,
Unless you're just so fucking pressed for time and you're like, man, nobody's gonna fucking listen to
Which
this.
isn't the-
like us, like if we were to come to Donald Trump,
Right.
of course he's not gonna do a goddamn interview.
Right.
This is a waste of his fucking
this
time.
chick has like 400,000 or 500,000 subs.
So
like,
so that's a little bit different. Like you should
Yeah.
be able to, no matter what. Like if it's a big enough, you should be able to go out and have the other side hear your opinion on that. I think that's actually a healthy thing.
and that's
you
what she's
shouldn't
trying to
just be
do, and
so-
they won't do it.
I agree with you that that's a healthy thing, and that because I've always said you should be able to have a discussion with
anybody.
I agree 100% with
anybody,
that.
with
I will
any
say that
source.
when it comes to certain media sources, though, I wouldn't want to give interviews to certain. Me personally, I wouldn't want to give interviews to certain media sources for the same reason that everything can be edited and fabricated. You could literally go through our history of podcasts right now, and someone who's never seen our podcast before, someone else could go through, edit them down, and I guarantee you they could put sound clips or whatever of me that made it seem like I was the biggest Trump supporter you've ever seen.
yeah.
They could
to make,
do that.
to make you sound like an asshole.
They could make it seem
You don't
like
even
that,
have to edit it to
even
make
though-
me sound like an asshole on here, man. You just play straight up clips.
My
Don't
point
have
is,
to
though,
edit it.
I understand. You get what I'm saying, though. Like, I understand
Yeah.
why people wouldn't want to go to certain media sources. But in general, yeah, I agree that if you have an opinion, don't fucking doubt your own opinion. Like,
Yeah,
be
just hold true to it.
Yeah.
It's just conversation anyway.
And
In the end,
And one thing that I've learned in doing this podcast with you guys, and we've had some nights where it's been rough, with us going back and forth, and I've just tried to better myself and being able to have, like you just said, just explaining how you feel about what you feel so strong about, no matter who it's to or whatever, man. Whether it's some of my closest friends or it's someone I don't even know. Fuck it, dude.
and
I need to stay true to what I know and how I feel.
I've always said that, I mean, the best way to validate your own opinion is if you can argue against it. Honestly, if you can argue against your own opinion and make solid points against your own opinion, and at the end of the day, you still truly believe that your opinion is right or better or whatever, like you've made a solid argument against yourself, and you still believe original thought A instead of thought B, then that just validates thought A even more. You've put it up against competition, and you
Yes.
still believe in it.
100%, as opposed to your subconscious.
That's why when people just want to talk to a brick wall, or they don't want to get into discussion, they just want to, I don't want to listen to your side because your side's dumb and they believe in this, this, and this, so I have nothing to say to you. That's ridiculous, because now you're not even giving yourself a chance to truly believe in what you already believe in.
I like
it's
it.
very very true, but that's very difficult to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
That's also very difficult, but it's true. It's true. I don't think not that many people sit down and really try to process the other side of things. I think that they
We
just
haven't been taught that way.
Disregard
I
man.
mean,
it.
but that's
You're
a good
right.
way to believe in what you believe in, though. If you truly believe in something, you
Yeah,
But
my-
we're
like-
so far away from that
like
because
growing
you
up-
can't do that. You can't go into a bar and do what you just described because you'll either get fucking
I know,
beat the fuck
I know.
out.
like growing up, my parents would never say, "Now, Jesse, you've grown up in the Christian religion. Now you need to go and study atheist
and make some arguments against
and
Christianity.
make some arguments against Christianity to actually truly validate the truth that is our religion."
But man, imagine if
No,
you,
they're completely afraid of that. They will not listen to it.
which
They disregard it
automatically
entirely.
makes theirs a little less valid,
right.
right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
If you truly want your beliefs to hold up,
Mm-hmm.
they should be able to withstand some criticism, and you should be
Right.
able to learn things from that criticism and slightly alter your beliefs.
Unless there's ultimate evidence.
That's how you
Ultimate.
learn things.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like people think that way.
No,
enough.
and-
I'm not trying to sound. I feel like I'm sounding real conceited when I say all that. That was
I
not
think-
my
I think
goal.
there's
no,
a-
you
I think there's
don't
a-
at all.
I think there's a lot of fear there too. That oh man, I don't want to be wrong because I like the way that I think.
That's
too.
that-
it's very
right there is a
prideful.
problem,
It's
though.
very-
You're-
it's prideful.
It's
very prideful.
It's
and
automatically less validation though for your own beliefs,
And especially when you're in the heated moment of an argument, and then when
and
if
you just don't want to be wrong.
Well,
Pride
so
takes
but
over.
But even then, if someone fucking says some shit and it has impact and truth and evidence behind it, and you're like, well, damn, damn, like, am I wrong?
Nobody thinks that way though.
No, I'm.
Some do once in a while.
I'm trying to
but
get to that point where that's
It'd
where
be
I
great,
wanna
right?
Be. Yeah, I want to be there.
It comes to a point to where your opinion becomes a part of your identity, and it almost shows in how you dress and how you act and how you speak. And then to almost start to go against it or have to argue the other side that's against what you believe in is the most, like, it just tears your whole being asunder, because you've literally, like, you know, certain people that look at what their opinion is. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it literally shows almost outward, like, their opinion. Like, you can literally just look at a motherfucker and go, man, I bet you're liberal.
Oh,
Or,
okay.
"Man,"
I see what you're
or,
saying. I see what
man,
you're saying.
I can tell you're a fucking Mormon right now, just
Yeah.
from the way that you dress. It's literally encompassed so much of their inner being that it also shows outward as well. And just from not even talking about opinion, but also just from the way that they
Just
speak.
what it's turned their life into.
It literally has encompassed their entire being, showing all the way through. So to try to go against that would literally be, like I said, tearing asunder
Their own
the
identity.
their very foundation.
Maybe we
of-
shouldn't let small opinions then influence our overall
Right,
identity.
right.
If it's something really big that really matters in your life, like
Like,
religion,
hey, Republicans actually have some shit right. Got to take out that fucking nose ring. Like, better grow the fuck. Oh man, it's gonna sound really bad. I need to quit right there. I have to stop.
no,
right
I
there.
100% agree with you
can't-
though.
Yeah,
You shouldn't. There's
I need to
nothing.
stop right there.
None of your opinions, unless they're super up there, important opinions. Like I don't think people should murder other people. Like yeah, I'll hold that as part of my identity. I feel pretty confident
Yeah,
saying that
for
part of
sure.
my identity is the fact that I don't think people should go around randomly killing other people. And if I was super religious and I had fought against my own religion and really validated that within myself, I'd probably let that religion be a part of my identity, so on and so forth. But like little tiny things that you don't know how they're going to change over the years and stuff, or just like Republican or Democrat or I don't know.
I try and be open with all of this, and how you just described it, Jesse. I think that everyone is at fault for what you just described. Every single person that lives on this earth has to struggle with what you just described, and for us to get challenged in any way, shape, or form, like you said, I mean, like Jordan Peterson's someone great to look. I mean, and he has his own faults too, but he was backed into a corner and he was able to explain his position and come out feeling good or whatever. But even then, truly, we all struggle with it. There's no way around it, man. We are what we believe, and that's deep. That's super deep. And in today's age, it's gotten to the point where you can't even have conversations with people in an open environment, in a public environment, and have it turn into a positive situation.
I think we need to be really, really careful with that kind of mentality. Like, not many people even notice that. They get so culturally involved in just all this to where it's absorbed them entirely. When the truth of the matter is, nothing is ever set in stone. Everything will change. There is nothing that won't. Like I've asked it before on this podcast, which is very philosophical. Like, what won't change?
Yeah, we literally asked that. We talked about this
Everything
last
will.
podcast.
Yeah.
Everything will. So you have to be very careful with what you start grounding yourself in, and and where you put your beliefs and all this. It's difficult,
But it's getting to the point where it's affecting freedom of speech, and I think that that's very important to have freedom of speech. And I know some people disagree, and that's one of the things that I hold true to, is in some states, like, you're not even able to, like in New York, for example, you can get fined if you don't identify someone as what they say they are gender-wise.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, you can
That's
get
absolutely
fined.
ridiculous.
You can get fined in New York for that.
I've never heard that, but I believe you. I believe you.
Yeah.
That's insane. There was something recent like that. I was just listening to it on the radio. I think Laszlo and them were talking about it on 96.5. I don't know if you guys ever listen to 96.5 The Buzz, but they were talking about it. I can't remember what state, what city. I couldn't tell you any of that. But they made a law, and then it instantly got retracted. Like literally 2 days later, it got thrown to the wayside. But they were in the process of making a law or whatever that had to deal with the fact that, like, if you were to and it specifically involved the B word and specifically involved bitch. But if you were to call someone a bitch or something, you could get fined. You could get fined because you're assaulting them verbally or whatever, blah, blah. And then they threw that out because it's freedom of speech. Like, yeah, don't be an asshole. But honestly, if we're standing on the side of the road and I've never met you before in my life and I walk up to you and say, Paul, you're a fucking bitch, there's no part of me that should, like, go to jail or get fined for that.
Absolutely not.
Now,
Absolutely
if I stab you, yeah.
Yes, go to jail. Please don't pass. Yeah.
Don't be like, why are you so hypersensitive to what other individuals say? All you're doing is giving power over to people whenever you get offended by what they say. Just toss them off. Just be like, man, this stupid motherfucker right here, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I get to move on with my life.
Like I said, they threw that away. But the fact that they were even thinking about that is kind of crazy.
It is. It's very crazy.
That would cause so many fucking issues if that's actually a fucking thing that's coming in as far as speech goes.
It is,
to
man.
where you can.
It is. I mean, that's ultimately the end goal. I mean,
I didn't know about that New York thing.
Yeah.
I still want to read about it myself and all that and
for
look
sure.
into it. But it seems like something that I 100%.
The government is involved in every aspect of our lives.
Oh yeah.
And maybe we shouldn't even call it government. I mean, I guess government is the right word. I mean, in Latin, it means mind control is what government means.
I don't believe that.
Look it up. To control the mind is what it means in Latin, government. They're in every facet that we.
There is no way. I'm gonna be on. I'm gonna side with you there. How much you want to bet? No fucking way.
How much you want to bet?
I'd bet just for friendly shits and gigs.
The Latin
small,
derivative,
like
the Latin derivative, which
of gov, and then yep.
Yeah, no, I'll have it broken apart because that's how Latin works. It comes from multiple words.
Yep.
You can keep talking. I'm gonna look this up.
No, I mean that's kind of where I'm at with that. It's just the government's in every facet of our life, and it's frustrating. And I'm to the belief, and I think I may have said this before, but we're way too down the rabbit hole to turn back. I think that we're in a situation where the powers that be within this country are going to control the narrative in our lives for a very long time to come. That's what I believe.
Of course. And yeah. And I don't
Paul's actually right. He's or not exactly, but I mean really close. Like, and I can see where you get that because Latinized Greek gubernatio, blah blah blah, management, steering, pilotage, guiding, to steer, to drive, to guide, to act as a pilot, and then the Latin mente, which means the mind. So to pilot the mind.
That's
what
I meant to say. To control the mind. Yeah.
Control the mind, pilot the mind. No, so I owe you a beer.
Fuck, man.
Yeah. I straight up did not believe you.
Are you fucking serious on that one?
That's what it means.
To steer, to pilot, to guide the mind.
Yep.
Is what government means. We done, bro. Fuck. We've been done for many years.
Wow, you're right. No, it's been fucked for like 4,000 fucking years. If that's the goddamn case, man. Yeah. There's been Jesus. That's just a little depressing.
It is. I mean, I guess it really, when you think about it though, what is all government? All in any society, by the way, any modern day, or even going back to like Greek and Roman and so on and so forth, if not a guiding body for the minds of the people.
Yep. It's a win. Yeah, it's a win for our souls and our minds, man. We're all numbers.
Tell you how to think, tell you what to do.
Yep. But hey, we're shedding light here on Talk Junkies, man. If you guys like this podcast, the best thing that you can do is share the fucking podcast, man. Share it to everyone you know. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Fucking Vinmer? Eminger? Sorry. I don't know why I said
what the fuck was that, man?
I almost said
share it on your microwave, share it on your toaster.
Tell your abuela, you know.
Do all those things, man. And hit the like button, hit the bell notification to all our junkies out there.
Stay fly and ring the bell.